Come, come, come out tonight. Come, come, come out to play. Come, come, come out tonight. Alice, come out and play.
The White Rabbit listened attentively to every detail Alice described to him. Because she was still on the clock, not the one which was mysteriously moving backward, but the one she and the other employees were required to punch ahead of each shift, she spoke rather rapidly and excited. Once successfully relaying an encapsulated version of all the events she'd endured, and when all had been said on what had been done, Alice was breathlessly out of breath. She was also thankfully relieved to have had someone to lend an ear to listen to her confusion. And when it came to ears, the White Rabbit was no slouch. Placing the paw of his right arm on her shoulder, the hare gave it a fatherly squeeze of support. "Well, that's pretty much everything to tell, I imagine. What do you believe I should do?" asked Alice. "I imagine you should first take a breath, then take another, and another, followed by another, and then just keep breathing. Next, I believe when you bounce off this bar stool, you should place one foot in front of the other to take one step after another, and another, followed by another, and then just keep on keeping on until you've thought this fully through." Taking the bunny's first bit of advice, she inhaled, then exhaled, then inhaled again, and so on and so forth. And thankfully it did make her feel somewhat better. During the time Alice had been catching her breath, he had taken out the gold pocket watch and flipped open its lid to see the time. "Holy cabbage and carrots," he gasped. I'm late, for a very important date," then sprung off his bar stool, hopped out of the Mad Hatter Bar and Restaurant door to go wherever he had to go before it got much later. Have any of you ever thought about this? One can't really catch one's breath, since our breaths are only air. And as with the wind, it's impossible to hold it in your hands or trap it in a snare. And has anyone ever seen time as it goes by and about us? Well, I think not. Now, this is not to say that that which you cannot catch and hold, and that which cannot be snared or seen, is not there. What's being stated has simply been said to set the record straight, so we may continue to sally forth in this story. Okay? Stepping from the bar stool, Alice proceeded to do as the clever cottontail had instructed, placing one foot in front of the other to take one step after another. But before our heroine had gone too far, she bumped right into the Jabberwocky coming out of his office, who said without a please or a thank you, "Alice, go on down to the storage cellar for mushrooms, then take them up to the kitchen." Since arguing with him was like dancing in a minefield, one had to choose carefully. So, from the night manager's door, down the stairs to the cellar, then over to an area where the Hatter stored mushrooms, she was struck by a surprising sight. You see, upon the largest mushroom in the lot, which was a very, very, very large mushroom indeed, Alice spied a very, very, very large caterpillar atop the cap of the meaty mushroom. Now that in of and by itself was weird, but what was weirder wasn't that the caterpillar was sitting there with his eyes closed. It was that the caterpillar was smoking a very, very, very large hookah. "Who are you?" Startled, she loudly exclaimed. "Jeff. Just Jeff." "Jeff who?" "Just Jeff. I need no other name, for I'm not fish or fowl nor game. Although I'm not like other people, I'm someone just the same. So please, it's just Jeff, for just Jeff's my only name." "You're a caterpillar." "No, I'm just Jeff. But okay, you may have it your way too." "Just Jeff, what are you doing?" "Obviously, I'm taking a hit off of this hookah. Would you like one too?" "I'm happy to share with you." Handing the nozzle tip tube which was attached to the base of the hookah over to Alice, She held it gently but firmly in her soft hands, and was surprised by how warm and rigid the length of it was to touch, then took a second or two to think of what she should do. "Oh, Just Jeff, I know not what to do." Take a hit, perhaps a hit or two." "You know, Just Jeff, after all that I've been through, why in heaven's name not? Perhaps it could help this headache which seems to have gotten worse. What could possibly go wrong?" Taking his long hard nozzle between her tender, slightly parted, soft red lips, "Again, get your minds out of the gutter." She inhaled deeply. The smoke and vapour from the pipe filled her lungs. Hey, it wasn't so bad. It really wasn't so bad at all. Hold it in, then let it out to do it all again. Blink your eyes, first once, then twice. What comes next is really, really nice. Being a good girl, Alice did as she was told, and in fact it did seem to relieve the pain that was throbbing from her headache somewhat. But then something most strange ensued. You see, she and the caterpillar began to grow to an enormous size, so big that between the two of them there wasn't a single inch of space left unfilled by their size within the huge cavernous cellar. The two were so squashed together that for the second time in a very short while, Alice again found it somewhat difficult to breathe. "Just Jeff, what's just happened?" "We grew and grew and grew, but worry not, the growing stopped, and now dream what you'd like to do." So Alice dreamt that they could be freed from this cramped cellar. When she opened her eyes anew and emerged from her dream, she was upstairs sitting again on the bar stool she'd sat on merely minutes before. More amazing than that, Just Jeff was behind the bar serving drinks to anyone who ordered. Only now he looked more like a man than a caterpillar, and was shaking a martini shaker with both hands. "What can I get you?" he asked Alice. "Oh, I'm not really thirsty right now. After the last 12 hours, I believe I need a miracle. You wouldn't happen to have a unicorn behind that bar, would you?" "Sorry, but we're all out of the unicorn today." "Whatever happened to the unicorn?" "Oh, the lion ate the unicorn." "Why did the lion eat the unicorn?" "Perhaps it was because the unicorn was not able to run faster than the lion, and fast enough to get away not to be eaten." That also would explain a lot now, wouldn't it? Now, as odd as that sounded to Alice, it made a lot more sense than much of what had happened to her so far. It could also be an explanation as to why we no longer see unicorns anymore.
Come, come, come out tonight. Come, come, come out to play. Come, come, come out tonight. Alice, come out and play.